Welcome back, everybody, to the Get Back Guys podcast. No guests this week. We got Kyle, as always, Nick, as always, the three hosts with the three most. Three most what? I don't know. If you're not watching on the YouTube show, your boy's wearing a brand new Miami Heat jersey. We got the Vice colors going. Bam Adebayo, first jersey I've bought in a long time for the Heat. They're in the finals. I had to mention the jersey new. We're actually going to talk about NBA at the end of this episode, but I got to mention the jersey because I love Bam. He's a staple for the team, and I got to get a Tyler jersey next. That's what I'm coming for next. Kyle's out there sporting. If you're listening, he's sporting his new is that Bobby?
No, it's my old Russell Wilson jersey. Yeah.
Oh, it's just a 3. Well, I don't know. I saw the 3, but I just thought there'd be a 30.
I thought it was 38 when I first looked at it. And I was like,
that classic Seahawks
38.
Yeah. What? That classic special teams guy.
33.
What was that? 33.
Okay, so that's what I was thinking. I was like, is it Jamal? What's he got going on there?
Maybe that's coming next for Kyle. Who knows?
Well, you got to sign him first.
Yeah, let's sign him, and then we'll go there.
Right. Nick was trying to give a round of applause to Alex, but I think we need to give him a louder one.
Let's go, Celtics, baby! Come on!
Alex is Heat pulling the upsets.
Yeah, well, Alex might have to wear his LeBron James Heat jersey in the finals. But we'll talk about that.
We're talking about NBA at the end of the show. I do have something about I do have a LeBron jersey. I'll talk about that. A little tease at the end of the show there. But let's get in. We're going to talk NFL first. We're going to go around. And we're going to talk about we got our normal segments, surprises, over, under. We're going to start just how we feel about our teams. And I am starting because your boy has a list. And I got a list right here if you're watching on the show. If you're listening on audio and you're in a little ASMR, you can hear that list open up because I'm fed up with the Philadelphia Eagles. I'm fed up with them. That's why I'm wearing this Miami Heat Vice jersey forever because my NBA team's the only thing making me happy these days because my NFL team stinks, and I'm here to talk about it. Again, if you're new to the show, we all live in Montana, and the great thing – welcome. And the great thing about Montana, I think, is that you can kind of pick and choose. I think you should stay loyal, but I think when you pick your team, you choose them. So back in the day, Nick and I, when we were starting to get into sports as brothers, ended up I chose Eagles Heat. He chose Spurs Packers. And we stuck with them, and that's great. As long as you stick with them, if you don't have any affiliation to the city, I think that's great. So that's why my teams are different. I'm not a Sixers fan, and I don't mind the Sixers. I like the Sixers. But my Eagles, back to them. I got a big list here. I'm fed up, and I am fed up for a lot of reasons. So let's talk about these injuries and how when you're injured all the time, Doug, that you can't build any dang chemistry and you can't have any, good things happen when you're all hurt. And I blame Doug. I'm shouting out Doug because it's the training. It's got to be in the training. It's got to be in what we're doing in practice. How can you be injured 3 years in a row and have this continue to happen? Look at this. Perkins, injured on IR. Andre Dillard, starter, injured on IR. This is before the season started. Quiz Watkins, injured, maybe could return week 4 on IR. Will Parks, great safety for the Broncos last year. Got him for the cheap. I was so pumped about him. Injured before season start, IR, maybe comes back this week. Is this week 4?
Yeah.
Yep.
Oh, well, I haven't heard a thing. So they're not coming back week 4. Brandon Brooks, maybe a Hall of Famer. Starter, star, injured before the year. DeAndre Hall, injured. Vinny Curry, injured week 1. Craig James, cornerback, injured week 1. Isaac Salomalu, injured. Maybe comes back halfway through the year. D-Jax is questionable, injured. Maddox is hurt. Alshon Jeffrey, where the heck's he been? Ruby Ford, DB. I've never seen you play because you've been hurt for 4 years. J.J. Arcega-Whiteside, the guy we took over DK Metcalf, who's out there balling for Kyle. Meanwhile, we can't get him on the dang field to develop well.
Go Hugs,
Dallas
baby.
Goedert, stud tight end, injured. That's a game injury. I'm not going to get as mad at a game injury when you're getting tackled the wrong way. That happened for him. So he gets a little bit of a leeway from me. Jalen Reagor rips the tendons in his thumb by catching a ball in practice. What is this? Is this bad luck? Is it Doug? I think it's mostly Doug and a little bit of bad luck, but I'm fed up. Oh, let's go to the back of these notes here, huh? The back of these notes. This is about my tie with the Cincinnati Burrows. First of all, Carson Wentz had an MVP year. Carson Wentz had an MVP year. He still probably should have won it that year, and he didn't. Brady won it.
2017,
Brady
right?
lost. 2017.
Mhm.
Follows it up, comes into camp, fractures back in camp. Again, Doug, camp, too tough apparently. Fractures his back. We don't find out about it until about 2 weeks later, 3 weeks later. Never healthy. This offseason, finally gets healthy, puts on 13 pounds of muscle. Clearly, it's too much muscle because now he's overthrowing everybody, and I can't handle it. Wentz balled out last year. He took nobodies. He's dropping dimes. Yes, he missed some people, but he's dropping dimes. Guys are dropping balls all over the place, and he makes it to the playoffs, wins the important games last month, and he has looked awful. If rookie Joe Burrow, I love Joe Burrow, rookie Joe Burrow is outplaying you by a mile, by 2 miles, by 100 miles in his third NFL game ever, and you're getting outplayed. Wentz is throwing balls into Miles Sanders' feet on a screen where there's no pressure. Are you kidding me? He overthrew a wide-open Miles Sanders on a wheel route. He overthrew Deshaun Jackson. I'm sick of it. Next, play calls. Doug, you need an OC. I like your play calling for the most part in every other year until this year. But clearly you've decided no OC. I've got a passing game coordinator. I've got a coordinator. I got a running back coordinator, and they just kind of help me. I'm done with it. The offense has not been the same since Frank left. I get that. The offense hasn't been the same, hasn't been as dynamic. I don't think that's all Frank, though. I think a lot of that is still Doug from that year. He calls the plays. But I think the preparation has changed, and it's not going well. Even with an OC last year who was not very good, they managed to figure it out eventually. And I think we need an OC. I think we got Marty Morningweg in the building. Great OC. Get Marty as the official OC and not just a consultant. Heck, get what's his face? Who's the old guy? I can't even remember on my practice squad right now. Josh McCown. Get Josh McCown on my practice squad. Get him off the practice squad. Make him the offensive coordinator. I'd be happy with that. Make Deuce Staley, for Christ's sake, the offensive coordinator. He deserves a head coaching job. He's such a good coach. Get him at the coach. I'm also done with Jim Schwartz. All right, Jim, I'm done with you. If you get 6 picks this week, maybe I'll be back on your good side. But I'm done with you. I've watched Jim Schwartz for 3 years now. If it's 3rd and 12 or longer, 4th and 12 or longer, if it's 12 yards the offense needs to go or more, he puts everybody at the line of scrimmage, and I've seen it fail more than it succeeds. I saw that Joe Burrow picked up a 3rd and 19 by throwing a dump-off screen because we put everybody back, and then nobody either bailed on it or were just blocked. The 3 guys were just blocked, and the rest of those 6 guys on the line just apparently stood there. And they didn't move much. And so we gave up a huge play on 3rd down. We did it last year to the Titans with Marcus Mariota, who just threw it up and or Brian Tannehill was 2 years ago because it was Marcus Mariota. He just threw it up, and it was 4th and 15. They got it. 3rd and 20, they get it. I'm sick of it. I'm sick of it. And I'm sick of you blitzing every 5 minutes as Russell Wilson just dime, short route, Aaron Rodgers, dime, short route. I'm sick of it, Jim. Stop blitzing. Man-to-man. That's what I want. I miss man-to-man coverage. We do crappy zone or we do stupid blitzes at the wrong times. It's like 3rd and 1. Let's blitz. Why? It's not worked all game. Well, it'll work this time. Guess what? It didn't. Because Joe Burrow found no-name Bengals 4th-stringer in the flat route. I can't even talk. I'm so fired up right now. Let's go back to the list. Wentz, you stink. Get better. You're better than this, and I love you to death. And I hate that you're playing so bad. You're playing awful. He's never had 2 games back-to-back where he's thrown 2 interceptions. He's never had that. Now he has 3. He went back-to-back 2 picks in 3 games. He's one of the worst quarterbacks in the league. Nick put in their chat the other day. He's like, guess what? Dwayne Haskins, according to PFF, is the worst QB. That's the best news I've heard all day because I would have swore it would have been Carson Wentz with his crap playing.
Wentz is
Did it change?
Right in front. Wentz is right. It's Haskins and then Wentz.
Which makes sense, but at least he's not last. That's the best
not
news I've
last.
had in weeks.
Actually,
He's not last.
I'm curious, Alex. I have a question for you. What you think? Because I haven't really watched any of the Eagle games, but I saw a
And you
theory
get to Sunday.
by the people at PFF. They were talking about how this is the closest thing they've ever seen to a quarterback or an NFL player having the yips, and that Carson Wentz is just it's like a golfer who, just randomly out of nowhere, everything's dialed up. Carson Wentz, they said he's still making a lot of good decisions. He's just flat out missing throws, and they're like, this is just unprecedented. It's like he needs to redo his mechanics from the ground up because randomly all of a sudden he's just had the yips and he's missing throws. What do you think about that?
I'd agree with that 100%. He's got the yips. He looks like a completely different QB. Go watch the highlights from last year. Honestly, watch the first half of the Redskins game. He's dropping dimes. He finds Goddard in a corner route for a touchdown. That's
no.
how fired up I am.
Oh no! He didn't mean it. He didn't mean it.
The TBDs, the Washington TBDs. Go watch the first half of that game, and then all of a sudden he looks like a shell of his former self. I do think a lot of it's play calling. There's no connections. Our entire starting offensive line has completely been changed and rotated out all season since the first week. I mean, for training camp. I mean, we went into the first week, we lose a guy, or we went in without one guy, then we got a new guy back, and then we lost a guy, and now we might lose Jason Peters. We don't have anybody to put there, and we haven't built up connections. I think Wentz, who does tend to hold on to the ball too long, he leads the league in fumbles since he's come into the year. He's got like 51 fumbles in 4 years. It's insane. And he holds on to the ball too long, and I think part of it is just kind of his own tendency. But I think a lot of it is he's constantly getting hit. Like in one game against the Washington TBDs, he gets sacked 8 times. Aaron Donald doesn't even sack him because all of a sudden the O-line started to figure it out. And even when he's got time, though, our play call is so bad, he's holding on to the ball because he's timid. He doesn't know what to do. So then he throws ducks. He won't throw underneath routes or he takes bad shots. I get he's a gunslinger. I get it. He's Brett Favre. Everybody compare. He's Brett Favre. He's Brett Favre. He's been compared to Brett Favre. At his best, he's going to be Brett Favre. I get it. He's a gunslinger. He's got a big arm. That doesn't mean he's got to throw 8,000 picks like Brett Favre. At least Brett Favre looked good. But he looks awful. He's a shell of his former self. There's no connections. When you're constantly rotating out wide receivers, Deshaun Jackson will play a game, and then he's out. Then he plays a game, and then he's out. Plays a snap, and then he's out. You can't build up connections with your guys, and it's causing a lot of issues. There's a lot to why the Eagles are struggling. It's not just because we're actually bad. I really don't believe that. I think if anybody believes that, you're really wrong. If our entire roster was healthy, I think we'd be a very, very good team. But that's the problem. And it's the caveat we said on this podcast anytime we talked about the Eagles' schedule and their roster was that if they stay healthy, they're going to be really good. And if they don't, they're not. And they're not healthy. And there's something going on with the staff. And there's something going on with Wentz. And they need to figure it out. And our schedule is first-place schedule. And we play the Niners, who look okay right now without all their players because they're missing Jimmy. Kittle might be back this week. It looks like he will be. Debo might. But still, they got a similar issue that we have. Obviously, they can win. But we can beat them, but then we got to go Steelers, Ravens. We got to play the Pack. We got to play the Hawks. We got a lot of tough games. Luckily, the only silver lining outside of the Miami Heat for me is that our division is so bad that we're a half game back at 2-1. We have a tie, 2 losses, and no wins. We're a half game back. That's how awful the New York Giants are. They can't run the ball over there. That's how awful the TBDs are. And I love Ron Rivera. Awful. And the Cowboys are so brutally the Cowboys that they either win great or they lose poorly. All right, my rant's over. I'm tired of the Eagles. I do think we can win. I hope we win. Probably won't. I'm bummed it's Sunday Night Football because the whole world has to watch me suffer. But, yeah. So, Kyle, how do you – oh, wait, I got one more thing. It's on the list. Hey, Zach Ertz. Don't you demand more money and then drop big-time perfect dimes. Wentz actually had a couple good dimes. He had one great catch, Ertz did, and then he's dropping perfect balls from Wentz, and then Wentz is like, everybody's saying Wentz is terrible, and he has been playing terrible. But when he actually makes connections, they drop it. Ertz out here demanding a contract, and he plays terrible. Jason Peters demanded more money to play left tackle, and he was the biggest problem at left tackle last week. He was getting destroyed where Wentz had no time, and I'm done with it. Also, Corey Clement, who I didn't bring up, has been banged up, as well as Boston Scott. All right, Kyle, how about your Hawks? I'm throwing the notes away.
Well,
Don't look at them again.
real quick, when we talked about the Eagles previously, we also said that, Howie Roseman could easily be in the conversation for one of the best GMs, but I think he needs to take a hard look at his staff and how things are being done in training camp and even on the field. Because I agree with what you're saying, though. I think it starts with, your coach, and I think it starts and ends with your surrounding coaches. For some reason, they're just making it happen to where guys get banged up when they're not supposed to, and then game plans don't come into fruition, especially against teams, the ones that you guys have faced, where you could easily be able to beat them. So I think Howie Roseman is fine, but I'm starting to get a little nervous about that coaching staff. I feel like I don't think Doug Peterson's job is on the line per se. I think that's a bit more going to happen with the surrounding coaches maybe, but I don't know. I'm not as high on the Eagles now as I was after seeing these past 3 weeks. I just don't know what to make of it.
Why
I'm
would
just
you?
nervous.
We're 0-2-1.
Yeah.
If you're still high on the Eagles, you're an idiot. We're 0-2-1. We tied with the Burrow-led Bengals.
Yeah.
I can name 3 players on that team. Are you kidding me?
You
No,
can name
I know
more than
Lawson because he destroyed JP. Off of Kyle, I do think Howie is an elite GM. The biggest problem Howie has and still has, always has had, is his loyalty to his drafted players. That he believes that they will eventually figure it out, and it's caused issues. And this year he finally got rid of some of those guys and brought in players, and then they got hurt. So it is on Howie a bit. But Howie is an elite GM, and I do think at some point he's got to make a big trade here, and we got to get a lineman. Nobody can stay healthy. Do
you think you want to do that, though? If it
depends on the picks, yes. I mean, it depends on the trade. If he gives a second for a lineman that can come in and maybe be a legit starter or saves a season, I'm all for that. If he gives a first, it just depends on how it pays out. It depends on the trade.
I just don't know if a trade would be worth it if it'd probably be one thing if you were in the cusp of becoming 3-1 and you need a trade in order to get yourself to, be playoff caliber. But if things aren't looking good for the season after another couple of weeks, I feel like it'd be why bother trading when instead you might as well try and go for, a decent pick in the next season and then build your roster up a bit in the offseason when you have.
Well, he might not
longer
trade
time.
a pick. You got players. There's been rumors he's going to trade Ertz for years, 2 years.
I wouldn't be
He's
shocked
not
because
now.
it's Howie Roseman. He always makes some crazy trades in the middle of the season. But I don't know. It just doesn't make sense to me judging by how you guys look right now. Why would you want to make a move like that when it may not even matter?
Sure, but we're also a half game back from the division lead.
Yeah.
So as long as the division's bad, if he sees that the season's not going to be bad, he's not going to make a trade. But if he sees that, wait a minute, I can get one player, even though my team is bad, but we're a game back, a half game back, or we're a game up on the division, and this can keep it that way, he'll make the move. And I'm okay with that if it works. If he gets rid of a first-round pick and we were going to get the number 1 or, a top 10 pick, then Howie's made a decision. But Howie's not that stupid. So, again, it would depend on the trade.
And also, last year there was the trade for Minkah Fitzpatrick where everyone called it out and was like, that trade's terrible. You guys are going to be a top 10 team while you're trading for Minkah, and that trade has been phenomenal for the Steelers. Yeah. So there's definitely – and you're in such a bad division that you're going to be I really feel like this is going to be the third time we see a team follow in the Seahawks and Panthers line and be under 500. Yeah, honestly, I feel like there could be if
Just
Dallas
get me in.
Dallas should probably win the division after these 3 weeks. Like they, just played. They had a terrible game plan.
The fact that they're
Seahawks.
a half
But,
game back is
yeah,
awful. on
and
them.
they could be 0-3 too. So
Yeah.
all right,
Kyle,
how
super
are the
fast
Seahawks
on
doing?
your Hawks.
Yeah,
Kyle,
I'm not
good, Nick. Good. All right.
Yeah, I'm not going to go on a tangent. Like, life's pretty good over here. Russ looks
like
great. Our offense looks great. I'm really impressed by our offensive line. It's like the best graded pass protection that Russ has had in a while. So I'm really happy that things are coming into fruition for there on that side of the ball. We have some injuries, though, unfortunately, but it doesn't look like anything too serious. Guys just might need to heal up for a week or so, kind of like Chris Carson, Jamal Adams, our rookie Damian Lewis, who has been a great guard for us when we drafted him in like the third.
Chris Carson injury, though, I mean, you guys, the narrative was this is season ending. I mean, you and our other Seahawks fans
we
were
got
losing
very
their
lucky.
minds.
We
Yeah,
got
no,
very
it's
lucky.
great for him.
Yeah, I'm also glad that player that alligator rolled him got fined too. At least it was something done about that. But anyway.
Yeah, you should be fined when you roll over somebody in a cheap shot.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Clowney!
Clowney's not on my team anymore. I don't talk to the Titans about that. But
No.
anyway, defense still an issue, especially in the secondary. I'm very concerned after week 3, seeing how much our secondary is being shredded. Granted, Dallas has a lot of weapons on offense, but at the same time, we shouldn't be shredded. We shouldn't get shredded as much as we have been these past 3 weeks, and I don't see it getting better unless if Bobby Wagner brings a powwow for that side of the ball and goes, "You guys need to do better." Because honestly, our defensive line, we discovered Alton Robinson, who was one of our draft picks, and he's actually maybe going to become our best pass rusher, so that's hopeful. KJ and Bobby look great, as always. The secondary just needs work. But outside of that, we still look like a playoff contender. With that secondary, it makes me nervous on if we can reach a Super Bowl. But at least our roster looks better than it did last year, to where I feel confident in going forward into the playoffs, maybe a little bit deeper than before. And I love Russell Wilson. I love him so much. So yeah, not much of a rant. I'm feeling pretty good still, but positives and negatives still with your team. So what can you do? Just
Kyle and I have always had this saying when we've watched football, because we lived together. I mean, until this year, we've been living together for 7 years. We lived together about 6-7 years.
That. Yeah.
And
crazy.
it was every Sunday morning, it was birds of a feather flock together, and we would just do our little bird dance. Caw-caw, baby! Caw-caw! We did that every morning. And sometimes we won Super Bowls, and sometimes we were awful.
Sometimes there was tears of joy, and sometimes it was tears of sadness and ice
Cool
cream.
though. We always root for each other here, but it was cool.
Oh, yeah.
We both, within our time together, living together, watched each other win a Super Bowl.
Oh yeah, but screw the Packers, am I right? No, I'm kidding.
No. I like the Pack.
Yeah,
you
yeah.
feel,
Your
Nick?
team's great.
Well, really quick with the Seahawks, I think the only concerning thing, because Russ has been incredible, is the fact that he has been incredible, and yet the Cowboys played so poorly in their secondary, and it was still that game and the Patriots game came down to they had a chance to send it either to overtime or to win it. That's the only concern. But I mean, I think when you look at the NFC, there's no team as complete as like the Chiefs, or even though the Ravens played bad this week, and the Ravens. And you're looking at the Packers, I think Bucks, Seahawks is kind of teams that are close and definitely can make a run, whoever kind of just gets hot.
Yeah.
Speaking of the Ravens, your 16-0 possibility didn't turn out there, Nick.
Did I say they were going to go 16-0?
You at one point said, I think they've got a real shot to go 16-0.
Well, I
didn't bet on it.
Smart.
Yeah, I mean, I still
15-1
think
or
they'll
something.
probably win 13 games. They probably don't lose.
No,
too
they're
much
gonna be
unless
great.
They completely collapse. But yeah. So actually, to lead off our surprise segment, mine's going to be the Packers, and I'm not surprised that they're 3-0. I'm surprised how they've done it. I think we're just better than the 3 teams we've played, but the difference is our defense has not been as good as I thought they would be, and our offense has been unbelievable. And here's a stat to back that up. So we scored 122 points through 3 games, which is the 6th most in NFL history. And when you look at our offense historically, I have a kind of a crazy stat. So if we look at points per possessions, so points per drive throughout a year that a team gets. So one of the highest was the Patriots in 07, one of the greatest offenses we've ever seen, 3.19 points per possession. We look at the Packers in 2011, their best, Aaron Rodgers' best year, it was 2.85 points per possession. The 2013 Broncos, 2.83. So right around that 3 margin. 2018 Chiefs was 3.12. The Packers this year are 3.73, which is way more than we've really ever seen. Like historically, this offense, if it keeps this pace, is going to be the best offense we have ever seen. Like that's the kind of pace that the Packers offense has started out with. And I don't think they'll keep up that pace, but it's pretty impressive considering Devontae Adams has missed he's missed 3. Wait, what is it? He's missed half of the quarters we've played. He's missed 6 of 12 quarters. So for us to be that good on offense and Aaron Rodgers to be that comfortable and Aaron Jones to be as dynamic and our offensive line has absolutely torn it up. Aaron Rodgers has taken 2 sacks and it was not either of them were the fault of the offensive line. It was both a missed pass protection on Aaron Rodgers' front, actually, that caused them, at least the one in the Saints game that we saw on Sunday. So the Packers offense is headed to a historic year if it keeps this up. I don't think any defense can be able to stop Aaron Rodgers playing like this. He's been incredible. This is the best start, one of the best starts he's ever had. And yeah, so I just think the defense could be a problem. They play good in spots and give up a lot elsewhere. Middle linebacker is an absolute dumpster fire right now. Christian Kirksey, who was brought in, has been terrible, and now he's hurt, and we're relying on an undrafted rookie to be our starting linebacker and another undrafted guy or a 7th-round pick, Ty Summers, who's never played until he was forced to play in the Saints game. So I think we're going to be there at the end if the offense stays like this. The defense is going to need to play a little bit better, though. So yeah, that's kind of it for me on the Packers. I just think we're one of the best teams in the NFL, and I'm excited to see Aaron Rodgers play because we might not have it for a long time. Still perplexed by our draft. It makes less sense every day. But Alex, so I'm curious, what's your surprise? What is everyone's surprises for this week?
Well, my surprise is that the Eagles stink and I hate it. No, I'm just kidding. When I was looking over everything, honestly, my surprise is the Bears. And that they benched Mitch because, also they're 3-0. What? Mm-hmm. What world are we living in where the Bears are 3-0?
20, baby.
And Mitch was 2-0, and they benched him. They
were ready to do it.
2-0.
I'm not shocked at all.
I'm not either. But he's 2-0. It's like, hey, guy, I'm 2-0.
I'm shocked that they're 3-0 because all 3 of those games are a play away from them being 0-3. Like if 3 players on the other teams make a good offensive play, which you don't want to take anything away from a team that's 1-3 because that's so hard. But yeah, that's big time. They could easily be 0-3.
And the biggest surprise for me as an Eagle fan is watching parts of that game and the highlights and seeing Nick Foles just still pull out the weirdest dimes out of nowhere. His ball he throws just always been so pretty, but he gets hit and he throws a touchdown. I'm sitting there going, if Wentz goes deep at all, my thought is, well, this ball's about to go about 5 yards over the head of a receiver who's double covered. And every time I'm right. Nick Foles lobs it up and there's a guy on a route wide open. Where does that even come from? I'm shocked. I think they're a big surprise. I don't think they're going to maintain it. I think they have limped their way in. I do think Foles, outside of an injury, starts the rest of the year. I think Mitch is done in Chicago. I think after this season, he's cut. I don't think his contract's up yet. I'm not entirely sure how the contract is.
They didn't pick up his 5th-year option, I don't think.
Yeah, so it is up, yeah.
Oh, it is up? Oh, he's done. So Mitch,
this is his 3rd year as a full-time. Yeah, it's up after this year.
It's about to be the Josh McCown treatment for you, Mitch. Which, as a backup, I don't mind Mitch. He's won a couple games. lost a playoff. Backup. All right. Maybe for a vet minimum. But yeah, that's my surprise. Kyle, what about you? What is your surprise?
We're going to have a Jets rant, everybody. Are you ready?
And that's the show.
yeah.
Someone say Jets. Joe Douglas works for the Jets. He used to be an Eagle. The Eagles stink. I'm just kidding. Go ahead, Kyle.
So, Mr. New York Jets, whoever that owner is, what are you doing over there? Why is Adam Gase still the coach?
You're surprised that he's not fired by week 3?
I am shocked that he's not fired at this point. It looks terrible. I just spat a little bit. It looks terrible.
Oh, been doing that.
Like, nothing about the Jets looks good. Like, only Darnold looks good, and that's only in the tiniest of moments.
Yeah, he doesn't.
Only in the tiniest of moments.
He had a great pass.
Tiny moments.
2
great passes. Take that, Darnold.
I don't know what the deal is. After seeing these last 3 games, just call it quits. You got to start over anyway. Like, do you think they're going to pull off some miracle with this roster that they got? No way. Like, do they think like something's going to happen when they play the Broncos next week? I mean, the Broncos don't look good right now with all these injuries.
Tomorrow, don't they?
Yeah, but they're going to beat the Jets, I would think. Like, and even if the Jets did beat the Broncos, what does that prove? Like, what do you still think after beating a depleted Broncos team that you're like, oh, see, we were right. Adam Gase is the guy. No, he still is going to be bad. You lost to third stringers on the 49ers team, and you got beat by the Colts and someone else. Who cares? That team's clearly better than the Jets. Like, what are they waiting for? I don't know if like the owners
Maybe
make
they're
that
tanking.
decision. Okay, fine, but you don't need Gase to do that. Just get rid of it. Just get rid of that problem already. Like, I just don't get what they're hanging on for.
If you're tanking though, and you hire Gase with that idea that if we're good with Adam, we're good, or if we're just bad, we can fire Adam at the end of the year, and then we can go get Trevor Lawrence and a new hotshot coach, hire his college coach, and then you're all set.
Clearly, Jets fans don't want Gase around. I think it's clear to say that everyone is in agreement that Adam Gase is bad for this team and needs to be gone. Why not just do it now? Let's at least see, as you guys are tanking, what you got in Sam Darnold, what's left of him anyway. Let's just see what else you got on this roster to see with the GM that, came from the Eagles organization, who I think is going to be a really good GM. Let him take a look at this roster without Adam Gase and figure out what he needs to change, what he needs to add, what he needs to take away. And if you're tanking, then great. You at least know what good players to get and at which spots. I just don't get what the purpose of keeping Adam Gase is at this point. They should have fired him when that new GM came in at the start of this offseason. Or was it start of this offseason or last year? Something like that.
Last year.
Adam Gase should have gone. Okay, right. Well, he should have been retired. He should have been fired regardless. I don't get why they're keeping him around. Get rid of him. You're going to be tanking regardless. So let's at least make it feel better by getting rid of that guy. It will at least feel better, I think.
I think
anyway,
it'll be
that's my surprise. Get rid of him.
I think it'll be a handful of weeks before he's let loose unless they get blown out by Jeff Driscoll, just because there is, like Alex was talking about this with Howie and holding on to his draft picks, there's a sense of a lot of franchises like to hold on to people too long. And every Packers fan hates all of our draft picks, but they still did it and they're still going to hold on to them. So I think that's probably why, but I do agree Gase needs to get out of there.
It's a case of bad ownership. That's a big part of the reason, and they're too much of stick in the mud to admit they made a mistake, even though it's clear they don't care. It's clear that they don't care.
Maybe that's why
we want a new owner. We want a new owner, and we want Gary V to take over the New York Jets. #
Gary V as the owner of the Jets would be awesome. He would
be the coolest owner in football. Easy.
Clearly, you've never seen Jeffrey Lurie.
It would be way better than what they got.
I haven't.
Yeah, I think maybe they were just like, hey, Adam Gase isn't very good. We could hire him, move on from him and Darnold, Then we could just go grab Trevor Lawrence and some real good coach. And if you get a new
Sure,
coach
like
in now, though, you're going to just have the Freddie Kitchens problem. If he actually balls out, this new coach, and you hire him, what if he's bad? Then you hire a guy, then you've really committed to a guy who won 4 games for you, and you didn't get the number 1 pick. And then you said, all right, we got this interim guy who's going to be pretty good, and then he ends up being awful. That's what happened with Cleveland with Freddie Kitchens. Yeah. So maybe they're nervous of that.
I don't know. I think the Jets are just in a lot worse situation than that.
Oh, they're terrible. And they should fire him.
Yeah, I just think I don't think they will have that problem. Honestly, I think this Jets team is just that bad. And even if Adam Gase is gone, they're still going to be bad. But at least Jets fans will be happy. At least I'll give them some sort of joy in their life, right? Like, it's just get rid of it. Just be done with it. You shouldn't have kept him around in the first place after hiring this GM. I think, like, you gotta make sure to hit refresh. Like, if you have a bad coach and a bad GM, you gotta get rid of them both. And they did not do that. And I think it's time that you do it now before it's too late.
Before we move on to our under-over segment, we're going to talk real quick thoughts about the Titans-Steelers game being flexed out. COVID-19 has gotten its way into the NFL. Kyle, what do you think about the whole situation? Is it what does it make you feel?
Nervous as all heck, that's for sure. I mean, right now, only 4 Titans players have been tested positive with COVID. Hopefully they're okay. I don't know how serious it's going to be for them, but I hope they're okay. They say that there's no tests that were positive for the Vikings, who the Titans just played recently, but that's only in a few days' time. I mean, we're really not going to see if this is going to make much of a hit on other teams or even like within the organization until
isn't it? I believe it's days. 5, 2 athletes and 3 staff.
I thought it was 4 athletes and 5 personnel guys for the Titans.
I'm not sure.
Oh, you keep talking. I'm going to look it up. You might be right.
I'm just nervous about how much it's going to spread. Like, I mean, there's only so much you can do already to like make sure the spread is to a minimum. And like, the tests are good by the looks of things, but also we just don't know we just need to know in a longer span of time, like how serious this is going to be to where it affects like the rest of the league. Like it could, I don't know. I think it's a very dicey situation, and I'm not looking forward to seeing how the outcomes go. Hopefully it's going to be okay, but right now I'm very nervous about it. Very
3
cautious.
Players and 5 staff.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, because it's 8 total, isn't it?
Yep, 3, and that is 3 plus 5.
The math. Nick, what do you think?
Yeah, I'm actually not. I mean, it is concerning, but I'm not too worried about it. Obviously, I hope everyone who has contracted it is healthy and it's
safe.
Not super serious.
Mm-hmm.
But we saw the same thing happen with the Marlins in baseball, except it was way worse when it happened, and they had to postpone games immediately, and they're playing every single day almost, and all of a sudden they just turned it around and people bought in, and the NFL has been planning protocols for so long, for months, trying to figure this out. And it's just, we just got to trust that the people, the experts who they have worked with do understand exactly how things are going. And they have a plan in place, and they might need to adjust it slightly. But I think, from the sounds of it, that everything should be under control. You see, they have those wristbands on everyone. Everyone knows, they can see exactly who interacted with who, how close people got to. So they have so much information that I think it's pretty likely that they're able to keep this under wraps. It would have been far worse, and we will see because we have the quick tests came in for the Vikings by this weekend before the games start. If all Vikings players are negative, then I think we're probably okay. And all the other Titans players are negative, looks like what we should be fine.
Mm-hmm.
If we do get a couple tests come positive or a lot, that's when I would start to really be concerned. But they've been prepared for this to happen. I'm sure the league has always expected that there will be cases. And so it's just, we don't want a whole team getting it. We don't want 2 teams getting it, and then, the fact that we're going to have the tests in time, the full tests, I think everything should be okay.
All right.
Outside of with Nick here, I hope any players, any personnel, they're all healthy, they're safe. You know that if they tested positive, it's just no symptoms, that their families and them are safe. Outside of that, I don't think it's a big worry at all. I mean, there's 26,000 people in the NFL, and we only have 8 by week 3. I think the NFL is saying this is great. Like, we did what we were needing to do. We didn't have a massive outbreak. It's not an entire team. It's 8 by week 3. I think they're actually pretty not excited, but like pretty glad that they were able to do it this far. The NBA bubble even got a little bit in at times. Like, there was a couple guys who left and had to quarantine. And so it was going to happen. We knew it was going to happen. The fact that it took to week 3, I think, is good. I think it shows they do know what they're doing, and I think most of the players care. I'd be curious to know how these guys got it, because if it's 5 staff and 3 players, I wondered, does that come from a team meeting? Did one staff member do this or that? Was it as simple as a kid? I'm a teacher. Is it as simple as a kid was by a friend, that friend tested positive, kid got it, gave it to his dad ended up giving it to some other faculty and some of the players in a meeting? Like, you just don't know. So I'd be curious to know that, but I think they're going to be all right. It's all on one team, which is good. The fact that 1 out of 32 teams, the other 31 are fine. Nobody else has the virus right now, and I think that shows that, hey, it snuck in. We were expecting this. We're adapting. We're going to throw a game on Monday, might be Tuesday, to make sure that everybody is healthy and that they can play. But I think the NFL is saying this is a win. That when COVID first got in, it was only 8 guys in week 3. That this for us is a win for the NFL right now, because it's not a massive outbreak. It's not a huge. I mean, it's a big news story, but it's not the way the Marlins is. It's not being treated the way the Marlins were. Like, I think the NFL is happy with it. Am I, maybe a little nervous it gets around? Let's see it really get out there before I start losing. I'm honestly like more nervous that the Eagles are 2-1 right now than COVID completely crushing the NFL. And then they rented out all of the Super Bowl hotels that they normally do for like a month. So they have it that entire week after their plan, or the entire month after the Super Bowl. So if they need to, they're just going to say, hey, we're going to shut the league down. You get a week bye, and we'll just shut the whole league down, and we're going to be back up and running, which would be great for the Eagles to get a little healthy. Not that I want that to happen. I'm just saying 2 weeks off. Can we just have 2 weeks off? But anyway, that's my thoughts. I'm with Nick. I'm not super nervous about it.
Yeah, you guys' words are reassuring for me anyway, but I don't know. At the same time, I just need to have a few more days where I see the outcome of this. But with the way that you guys are explaining it to me, maybe it is going to end up being fine. Maybe it is a relief that it's only these what's the math? 8 players. But right now, I'm a wee bit nervous, more so than you guys are.
Let's move on to our over-under segment here. We are running low on time. Should we each just do one, either pick an over or an under this week, and then we'll do some
I only have
NBA
one prepared, so that works
Nick,
for me.
Why don't you start it off then? What's your over or your under reaction this week?
Yeah, I think, I'm going to go under reaction. I think people should be talking about this more just because of how different I thought it was going to be, and it's actually the NFC South. Just the fact that through 3 weeks, the Buccaneers are the top of the division, the Falcons are the bottom of the division, and there's a lot of really, the Falcons should be probably 2-1 right now. And how the Saints have looked, it just really caught me off guard. And I think I would have thought more people would be talking about the fact that the Saints and the Carolina Panthers have the same record through 3 weeks, and that the fact that the Bucs were supposed to start slow, and it looks like that slow start was just 1 game. It wasn't like half a season. And I know that they've had 2 a little bit easier matchups with what they played the Panthers, and then they played the Broncos, right? So not the hardest of matchups with all the Broncos injuries, but still they look really good. And the Falcons, Dan Quinn, I think, is going to be out of there pretty quickly because he's been just nothing but disappointing since the second half of the Super Bowl, basically.
Yeah.
And make him my DC. Get Jim Schwartz out of
DC. Come
Get
back
out of here. You've had plenty.
He wants to come back.
But yeah, I feel bad for the Falcons because they should be 2-1 right now, and they should be tied for the division lead. They have such a great offense, and they could start 0-4 if the Packers keep it rolling for this week. So the NFC South just caught me off guard for mainly, I mean, the Saints starting out 1-2, even though one of those losses was to the Packers, and the Bucs starting out 2-1. I think's just kind of interesting. So that was my underrated.
I think it
Too
also goes to
spicy.
show. I think it also goes to show what Matt Rule is doing with the Panthers. Like, I think for a new coach with a team that's kind of depleted, at least on the defensive side, like they're doing some stuff. They're actually making some noise. Better than the Falcons anyway.
Yeah, I got some. Although the Falcons did play the Seahawks, Cowboys, and then the 3-0 Bears, while the Panthers they beat the 0-3 Broncos. So I could definitely see the Falcons coming back up. But I just through 3 weeks, yeah, it's been interesting.
Yeah.
The Falcons are my reaction. I think people are overreacting a little bit to their losses. They're bad. They're blowout. I mean, they're comebacks. Again, I get it. But I don't think the Falcons are actually this bad. I don't think they're bottom of the division bad. And I think the narrative right now is that they are, and they're not. They're better than the Panthers. They've got a great roster. They've got some injury troubles right now at the running back position. Julio's been back and forth. He missed last game.
They're missing 4 defensive starters as well.
Yep. And the Eagles know all about that. Birds of a feather, I guess. But I think people are overreacting. Will they be an elite team? No, but I think they'll figure it out enough to start giving some good teams some trouble, and they'll start beating those bad teams. And that's my overreaction this week.
I mean,
the
real bummer with the Falcons is that if they get those 2 wins, they're right in the hunt of being a playoff team, especially if the Saints do end up taking a step back, then they're right in the thick of things. But this also could be a year where they end up kind of just reevaluating, get a new coach, get a high draft pick, and all of a sudden in next year and the year after that, we're looking at one of the best teams in the NFL, because it seems like they're right there and they just need a little more ammo. And Matt Ryan's young enough. He's 35, so he's got 37 by the time, in a couple years, if they get a good coach in there, because I'm sure Dan Quinn will be fired this year unless they really turn things around. The Falcons could see themselves in a position. I sure hope not, because I love Matt Ryan. But yeah, they're definitely interesting.
That hurt to hear.
I think the Falcons could benefit from an offensive-minded coach now. I think that's what they need. Is they need an offensive-minded head coach. They have so many weapons. Matt Ryan is still an elite quarterback. He plays a great game. I mean, Matt Ryan is awesome. And if they got an offensive head coach with a really good DC, I think they could be pretty good. And that even, Dan Quinn, if he was the
maybe
DC
Doug
in
Peterson?
that situation. Whoa, Doug Peterson's an offensive guy. Oh, you mean
maybe Doug Peterson's coming in as head coach next year.
Yeah, and we got Adam Gase, and
you get Dan Quinn
from Wentz.
Dan Quinn and Adam Gase.
We moved on from Hurts. Howie Roseman's out there playing linebacker for us. I think, though, Dan Quinn is a very good D coordinator, and he's been a good head coach. He's had great seasons. I mean, the Super Bowl loss is brutal as that comeback, but he's had a lot of success. He's a good coach.
But how much
he'll get a job, but I think
you have to
go ahead.
I think looking back on Dan Quinn, you have to look back at the most successful years as Kyle Shanahan, right? Like
that was the Super Bowl year,
and those offenses were the best. Year.
Yeah, and it wasn't. And like Matt Ryan's been pretty good since Kyle Shanahan left. Specifically in 2018, he was awesome. But the defense was not like that was good in 2016. But the reason that they made it as far as they did is because their offense was unreal. And their offense has been good, not to that same extent. And the defense has been their Achilles heel. If their defense could get one extra stop in the last 2 games at the end of the game, they're 2-1 right now. But the defense just were terrible in the fourth quarter. So Dan Quinn is, I don't know what to think of him, because he was awesome when he had some of the greatest talent we've ever seen on the defensive side of the ball with the Seahawks, but with the Falcons, a lot you can look at as Kyle Shanahan and my boy Matt LaFleur, who was on that staff, kind of sending the Falcons further.
All right, Kyle, what's your over or under?
My under is Josh Allen. At least in my opinion, I feel like not a lot of people are talking about Josh Allen. They're saying how great of a
I
job
am.
the Bills team is, but aside from us, I don't feel like many people are really talking about Josh Allen, especially for an MVP candidate. I mean, don't get me wrong. I would say Russ and Rodgers right now are like 1A, 1B when it comes to MVP, and obviously Patty is in the mix as well, probably like right
Yeah, he
after those
threw
two.
himself in the mix after that Monday
Yeah.
night performance. Probably those
But
4.
yeah, exactly. Like I do think Josh Allen should right now at least be considered as the number 4. I was watching him play against the Rams, and even though it was very impressive that the Rams defense, made a heck of a comeback, jumping from I don't know what was it, from 3 points to basically it was a 20-point deficit.
Was it 28-3? I think they were down by 25.
It was something like
And they
that.
took
yeah.
the lead. 29 unanswered, yeah.
So while
Rams.
that Rams team was able to make a big jump and a big comeback, Josh Allen was still able to get the game-winning drive, and he was still making a lot of really good throws, a lot of great plays throughout the whole game. I mean, one of the impressive throws to me wasn't like a deep bomb or anything fancy, but it was just a little lob up to Stephon Diggs that was in some tight coverage, and he just put it right in his hands where just a tight pocket, and it was just really impressive. Like, he's making those throws I never expected out of Allen. Well, he's just looking better and better each year, and now that this Bills team looks like they're a Super Bowl contender, it's really great to see Josh Allen almost playing at an MVP level. And again, like, that Rams team kind of showed some of the issues that Allen has, especially in the fourth quarter, but throughout that game, he still managed to get the job done, and he still looked pretty darn good to where he could be like a really great quarterback maybe in a few years. But yeah, I would say he should be in the conversation as of right now. A lot can change, of course, but
Definitely.
I like what I saw. I like what I saw.
I'm totally with you there. I think right now Russ would be leading the MVP conversation just because he has the touchdowns. Even though I think he's got 14. Aaron's had a couple drops, and it's going to be interesting to see if those touchdown numbers stay up, especially if Chris Carson's hurt even more, because you've only had one rushing touchdown all year
from Chris Carson. Yeah.
So that'll be interesting. But then Rodgers, Patty, and Josh Allen right behind. Honestly, it could come down to who's the 1 seed, because that's typically who gets it. But the interesting thing about Josh Allen is I just don't know what to make of him, because I watched the fourth quarter of that game, and on that last drive, there was like 8 to 10 pass plays of Josh Allen in that game-winning drive. 3 of them were incredible, counting the touchdown. He had 2 other big first downs. The other 5 or 7 were terrible. Where he was either getting sacked, he almost had a huge turnover, like he was
a fumble.
It was just a mix of amazing and bad. And so I think to see the Bills and how much of a contender they are is going to be if Josh Allen continues to improve, because we've seen he can throw all the yards. Him and Stephon Diggs, I think that addition is huge.
Yeah,
and he can look incredible. If he just continues to improve, I think you're totally right that he's on his way to being, one of the better quarterbacks in the NFL. And if he keeps doing this in the division that they're in, if they're able to beat, if they're at least able to split with the Patriots and then dominate the Dolphins and the Jets, which I'm sure they'll at least dominate the Jets, they could see themselves as the number 1 seed going into this, if the Chiefs drop a game or two to some competitive teams, because, we saw them not play as good against the Chargers, a team that they expected to beat. So I think they're literally in play for the 1 seed, and it's going to depend on Josh Allen for sure.
Yeah, I mean, like I said earlier, the Rams team definitely managed not only a great comeback, but also to remind people of the problems with Josh Allen. But even still, I was really impressed by how much of a leap he's made. He just looks like he's throwing the ball a lot better, that it's not just so all over the place, and it's not even his running looks a bit better. Like, I used to make fun of his running, but now he actually looks pretty good, even though he was just such a mobile threat to begin with. I'm right there with you. I think that he should be in the MVP conversation a little bit more, and I'm hoping that this Bills team goes far, because I like what I see out of Allen. I think he's really coming along.
Yeah, and I think that game was just awesome. That Bills-Rams game was, and that showed that actually made me like both teams more. The fact that the
Yeah.
Bills could punch back after they had gotten basically knocked out by the Rams, and to see Josh Allen do that was impressive. And to score 29 straight against that Bills team actually gives me, even though they lost and it wasn't as good as if they won, but they looked about as good. Like them coming back, the Rams in the second half, show me that this team is actually for real. They have two really easy matchups coming up next. I think is it Jets Giants for the Rams
probably.
coming up.
Yeah.
Back to back, so they could easily start 4-1, and if they do, they're a real threat to, we've talked at length at how insane the NFC West is, and that just confirmed it this weekend again, even with the Cardinals dropping a bad game.
What's up, Alex?
Josh Allen ran a 4.76. Runs funky. That man ran a 4.7 at the combine. That man's got wheels.
He's athletic. He's got wheels, but I don't know. Just the way that he ran in those first 2 years, it looked kind of clunky to me. Like I said, it's better. Like, it looks better to me. I don't know what it is, but
I know two Bills fans. Shout out to the both of them. You guys know who you are because you're the only two I know.
Aku?
Love Josh Allen. Yeah, Aku, and then the old Butters. Love Butters. I wasn't going to say it, and then Nick threw one out there, so
just
I had
blurting
to
out
say it.
names. Thanks
I'm
So-
trying to use my detective skills.
Shout out to them sticking with the Bills through all their bad seasons, but they're great. I think a big thing for their offense is John Brown getting back to being 100% after week 2. He was banged up and he didn't play in week 3 really. If he can get back to healthy, Stephon Diggs takes so many matchups that John Brown ends up really releasing, and he's on the fringe of really, like, he's kind of in that, is he really going to end up being a number 1 guy or is he a number 2 wide receiver? And if he can get back with Diggs there, he's going to ball out. What's with that face, Nick?
You just want him to be good for your fantasy team.
Yes, sir, I do.
know it.
Let's get going.
You would, if you did not draft John Brown,
Don't you
wouldn't
ever say that. You know I
you
love
would
the
never
Bills
have
and I love
mentioned
Josh
him.
Allen. Oh, I
you wouldn't
definitely
have
would have.
mentioned him
I love
if
the
you
Bills.
didn't have drafted.
All right.
You know it.
Our
We
clock
also-
meter is running. Hurry up, Kyle.
I was just gonna say, shout out to our previous guest, KP, your guys' what is it, brother-in-law, right? That's how it works.
It is.
Yes, that's our
He was telling
brother-in-law.
us. Sorry, I forgot what the term was, but he was telling us about the Rams that they look pretty good on both sides of the ball, and that clearly showed against his Bills team. So yeah, he's right
Goff's
about
been
on the money
incredible.
with that.
PFF
All right.
Goff looked pretty good.
Fourth rated
End-
quarterback, Jared
End
Goff.
of the
It's
show.
crazy.
We're going to transition to the NBA preview for the finals. I'm going to go last because my team is in the finals. We film this on Wednesdays. We actually have about 30 minutes before the game starts. You'll hear this, our reactions the following morning. So let's just, Nick and Kyle, real quick. We'll start with Kyle. Just preview. You say you're a Laker fan. You don't watch when they're in the bubble playoffs, but you did watch Lonzo Ball years ago. What is your thoughts about this Lakers team super fast as the clock meter's going down?
They definitely are not Lonzo Ball Lakers anymore. They are definitely LeBron James Lakers basketball. Yeah, this team, I think it makes sense that they're in the finals right now. I'm still surprised that the Heat are in the finals, but hey, like, that is an amazing job by your team right there. Like, you guys are the underdog story
That's
that I
good.
am loving right now. Like, I mean, I'm a very casual basketball fan, so if the Lakers win, cool, awesome. I'm like, that'll be great. But if the Heat win, I might be a little bit happier because my buddy Al gets, a trophy for his team. And I mean, that jersey, guys, it looks great on him. Like, it's popping right now. So yeah, I mean, I'm happy with the results of this. It's interesting matchup. We didn't expect, this type of matchup. We expected, like an LA finals, but here we are. It's going to be interesting. I can't wait to see how this outcome goes.
Nick?
Yeah, I think the Lakers, I predicted them to win the championship at the start. I've predicted them to win the championship since the start of the season, and I will still predict them to win the championship. My guess is 5 or 6 games the Lakers aren't going to sweep, but I also I'm gonna
We'll see
take
in
the opposing
7.
side. So Alex, I apologize, but I would be shocked if this goes 7 games. The Lakers have the 2 best players on the court, as great as Bam has been, and Jimmy Butler and Dragic and Hero. And I think it's just a testament to how incredible LeBron James is, because if you take LeBron James off this team, they probably don't barely make the playoffs. For as good as Anthony Davis was, Anthony Davis he's kind of the big in the West, probably not even a playoff team. And so LeBron James is incredible. Anthony Davis, though, has showed up. And I think it's not out of the realm of possibility that he wins finals MVP over LeBron, because he probably is going to be the leading scorer just with LeBron playing more point guard. But LeBron's still an amazing defender. He's great at everything. And Anthony Davis has a chance to start his real legacy, because he has all the accolades you could think of besides an MVP or Defensive Player of the Year, which he's been, I think, close for Defensive Player of the Year. I don't think he has one yet, but he's been on 4 All-NBA defensive teams. He's an absolute stud. And I just still shocked that people thought the duo of Kawhi Leonard and Way Off P was as good as Anthony Davis and LeBron James. Like, I just don't think those people watch basketball, to be honest with you. The people who thought that, because that's how much better the Lakers are. And again, to the Heat, this is something we talked about early on with the bubble. What team was going to benefit the most from the bubble? And now we have our answer. It's obviously the Heat. Myers Leonard, he started 40 games for you guys. He's played 9 minutes in the bubble. Like, this Heat team is completely different than the team before the bubble. Tyler Hero feels more like a second-year player than a first-year player, averaging 20 points a game. And so, yeah, the Heat, I think, have benefited the most seeing Bam take it. I think Bam's the best player on that team, and he's absolutely incredible. If they have a chance to beat the Lakers, it's going to be because Bam Adebayo is an absolute stud.
So I said before the year started, and I really say this every year, if it's not the Heat, I want LeBron. I love LeBron. He brought me 2 rings. I absolutely love him. And now I get my cake and I get to eat it too. Like, I get, I want the Heat, obviously. If we lose, it's going to be, I'm not going to be the most disappointed I've ever been at a loss. I mean, I'll be pretty happy for LeBron. I plan to wear my LeBron jersey whenever it gets to an elimination game. So whether it's for the Lakers, for the Heat to win, or the Heat to win, that's when I'm going to wear my LeBron jersey. I'll wear this Bam one until then, just because I think that's a great way to show how much I love both, my own team, but then as well as LeBron. I do agree. They've got the two best players on the court by far. I think that's true. But I don't think, maybe by far might be a wrong term, because I think Jimmy and Bam are pretty good, but I think we have the much better depth. I think our roster is playing a lot better. I think the trade is still a lot better. Nick's making a face that like I'm wrong, but our shooters, I think the Lakers would give a lot for one of our shooters. I think any of my young guys can take on Alex Caruso. I think most of my guys can handle Rondo. I think we've got better point guards than Rondo's playing right now, and I like Rondo. I think we're in a better position team roster-wise. I don't know if we'll win. I think we have a chance to win. I think 7 is possible. Nick says he'll be shocked. I think it'll most likely go to 6. And I think this first game is going to be big if we can steal this first game. That's going to be telling. And if we lose, we lose. But we are a different team. I think that shows the coaching and how good of a coach Eric Spoelstra is, and what the guys did in this little extra 2-month window to get better. And I think that showed that some teams didn't work out and they didn't want to get better with the time off, and they wanted that extra vacation. And I think some teams, and I think the Heat was the main team, worked hard during that extra time off, especially the young guys like a Duncan and a Robinson and a Nunn, and they got a lot better. And I think our roster is really good. Our biggest problem is turnovers, but our biggest strength is defense. And we've been one of the top defensive teams all year. And I think we've got a real shot. I'm excited for the game tonight. I'm excited just to watch a team that's so good that there were 12-3. Both teams went 12-3 in the bubble playoffs, and that is insane. That is insane. I think the narrative the media has about how we're a 5 seed is a little overblown, because I think if the season gone on, we actually would have ended up being the 4, maybe
I
the 3
also
seed.
think, yeah, you're better than a 5 seed because you're so much different than the team that played most of those games.
Yeah,
I think Tyler Hero is averaging 20 points, almost 20 points in that Western Conference
he's playing
Finals.
important
And he
minutes.
was second team all rookie. He wasn't even first team all rookie. Like, that shows the jump that he took.
Yeah.
Also, real quick, someone else who has a huge win-win like you with the Heat and LeBron is Dion Waiters, because no matter
Yes.
who wins, he gets,
He
a,
gets
ring.
a ring. Yep.
Yeah,
Huh.
because he started the season with the Heat.
Yeah.
Yep. We did, and we finally got rid of him. Thank goodness.
Still get the ring.
I don't mind Dion Waiters, but I think he's a very J.R. Smith kind of guy, and if he's not on, which is rare, he's not fun to watch, and he's rarely on. But that's my
Hey,
thoughts.
J.R. Smith was big in 2016.
By next episode, we're filming this before the first game. By next episode, we might be at game 3 or 4. I'm not sure what the schedule is, but we got quite a bit of games, so it's going to be a completely different mood and talk. So it'll be curious to see how we feel as they're ending it up. But we got to end this show. The clock meter is running down. So guys, Eagles still stink. Heat rock. Hawks pack. They're balling. Love it. Another great episode of the Get Back Guys. Follow us on all social media at the Get Back Guys, Instagram, Twitter. We're on Spotify, Apple Music, YouTube. We're going to be putting clip outs. It's going to be awesome. Share us around. See ya. Get
Bye.
back, guys.
See ya.
All right.
Well, bam.